It is now 9:02, and I will call the Sewage and Water Board Finance and Administration Committee meeting to order. Special counsel, please call the roll.
Director Stewart,
Present.
Director Scruggs, Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Cole,
Here.
Councilman Hughes. Chair, you have a quorum.
Before proceeding to our presentation items, it's been brought to my attention that the agenda published online as WebNo's public website included all the topics intended for discussion, otherwise presentations for today's meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee. The online version of the agenda specifically included executive session item 4B pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 4217A2, and the Finance Administration Committee of the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans will meet in executive session to discuss JEI Solutions Incorporated versus Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans, Civil District Court for the Parish of Orleans, case number 2026-03395. It was, however, inadvertently omitted from the agenda physically posted in the lobby of Sewage and Water Board headquarters as required by Louisiana Revised Statute 4219A2A. Louisiana Revised Statute 4219A1B IICC provides it pertinent part upon unanimous approval of the members present at a meeting of the public body. The public body may take up a matter not on the agenda. Out of abundance of caution, I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include the executive session 4B to be discussed during the executive session portion of this June meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee. This motion requires a unanimous vote.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. As a part of this committee, we have a quorum of 3 committee members. However, I want to acknowledge the presence of Director Tyler that's here with us, and also Councilmember Hughes is en route as well. Now we'll proceed to the 2 presentation items. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nelson and his team. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I know there's been a lot of discussion around the stormwater fee and a parcel fee and how those things work together. And Leo John Arnett has put together a presentation for us to go through the current status, answer any questions, and provide some more background. So, LJ, you ready to run through the slide deck?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Forgive me for just 1 second. All right, cool. So we'll run through this really fast, or as fast as we can make it happen. So we wanted to break it just as clearly as possible. So what is the decision actually today? What is a parcel fee? Why the parcel fee itself? The governance, some examples, and then timeline, right? So we wanted to start this with saying what the priorities, at least of the administration, are, and we hope that these priorities are shared with the board of directors as well. So first and foremost, having an equitable rate structure for the residents of the city of New Orleans, protecting those already paying into the system, and expanding contribution to include those who don't, as well as a durable funding for projects like green infrastructure, stormwater management, and holistic right-of-way improvements. So the decision today is considering an expansion or modification of Raftellus' contract to explore some of this data. The decision today is not to approve or deny the final rate structure. It is purely for Raftellus to continue on its work, to pull more data, to pull more information so that we can look at this holistically and put together a plan that is feasible both in passage at the city council and with the voters and residents of the city of New Orleans. Some additional facts is the cost is $123,000 right there. The timeline is 8 weeks for the completion of this analysis. It will preserve the stormwater fee and all the work that has gone into this, as that is an integral part of this parcel fee proposal. So all of the data, all of the digitization is going to be preserved, and an additional mechanism will be explored to look at this right-of-way improvement piece in addition. So what is a parcel fee? A parcel fee is just a term used to describe a bundle of 2 fees, the stormwater component and then the right-of-way improvement. The parcel fee in and of itself is not just one fee, it is just a bundle of sorts. And so here it kind of explains this, right? So you have the stormwater fee component, you have the right-of-way fee component. The mechanism by which we've put on there as a potential mechanism is something that is well-tested in other municipalities. And as I note at the bottom, despite a bit of a symmetric demonstration just for the sake of presentation, the stormwater fee is going to comprise the majority of the revenues under this parcel fee. And as we know in the city, property taxes are the primary source for many municipal services. And so what this parcel fee is intended to do is to serve as a vehicle by which we can expand that contribution base to tax-exempt properties, those that benefit from the improvements that this revenue will fund. So here we just want to say that with this amendment, we want to enable an analysis that centers affordability and equity, that continues to deliver a dedicated revenue source for drainage, and also looks at all the urgent needs by which Sewage and Water Board faces, both in the subsurface and then as a component of those projects, the surface right-of-way infrastructure itself. And so why the parcel fee? And we wanted to start here, right? So there are these citywide services with limited contribution to them. So these are all the services in the city by which the contribution to the funding is not inclusive of tax-exempt properties. And so you have catch basins, drainage, canal cleaning, but as well as roadways, road repairs, sidewalk repairs, maintenance, and mitigation adaptation projects. And so we wanted to start with this as a clear demonstration that what this is trying to do aligns with the framework of what the work has already been taken up by Raftellus, looking at how to capture properties that are not paying into the system already. Reasons to advance the plan. So what this is doing is looking at the street and the roadway and the infrastructure underneath the roadway holistically. If you're going in to fix a large diameter, a small diameter drain, you're going to have to rehab the road on top. If you are going in to fix a water main, you're going to have to rehab the road and potentially the sidewalk on top. What we were trying to do is look at this in a broad, not a broad perspective, but in its full perspective, to say that when we are going in to fix something under the road, it is intrinsic, it is clearly intrinsic, that is connected to the road as well. And I do want to stop here for a second and harp on that point. When we're looking at drainage, the roadway, the surface right-of-way, is an intrinsic component of that that's clearly understood by not just the residents of New Orleans, but by those putting in the projects. You know, when DBW is looking at rehabilitating a road, I mean, the drainage component and the grading is a critical part of that. And when you're looking at drainage projects, you have to look at the road itself. I mean, with impervious pavements, with reaching the catch basins, all of these things are clearly connected, and that's understood by the residents of the city. And the benefits and goals, right? I mean, this secures the first recurring source of funding for something like green infrastructure in the city of New Orleans. It strengthens Sewage and Water Board's ability to address long-time deferred maintenance, and it provides a durable funding source for street repairs that we can maintain and repair across the city of New Orleans, and including some of our goals there as well. We wanted to provide a few examples, right? And this is the part where I mentioned it's intrinsically understood by the residents in the city of New Orleans. When they look on their streets and they see streets buckling like this in Algiers, you see that the subsurface infrastructure can be a source of that. So when we're going to address these things, we should have a fee that's able to address this in full and to enable more projects to happen that delivers excellent services for the city of New Orleans. Here, there's another part in the Dixon neighborhood where road construction you can see happening in January of 2023 right there in the center. And then all the way to the right this year, this May, there's still flooding going on in the street. And I'll actually let Steve take this one if you don't mind.
Yeah, you bet. So as LJ is talking about looking at this from a holistic perspective, the importance of being able to be flexible with the funding that we have. Naturally, the drainage system is first and foremost in everyone's mind. It's the primary thrust of the parcel fee. And again, reiterating that the work that Raftellus has done is not going to be discarded. It's not going to change. The calculation of an equivalent residential unit is crucial to the foundation of the stormwater fee and the parcel fee as a whole. And again, the overall intent here is for Raftellus to explore, given that they are the experts, how parcel fees have been utilized across the country and what engines have been used to generate things such as trip counts and other metrics by which we could look at how are the streets, the sidewalks, lighting, et cetera, affected. And then putting all of that under one umbrella as opposed to trying to do things ad hoc or piecemeal, which as we know, when we're trying to do that separately, that creates a whole lot of additional cost. It's frustrating. And trying to get the voters to pass multiple initiatives on separate ballot measures would be additionally challenging. So being able to put all of these things under one umbrella and give the Sewerage and Water Board and the city the ability to address the entire right-of-way is critically important. And we cannot reiterate enough the importance of being able to stress that those who are paying into the system for millages will not pay any more or any less. They cannot. They're already shouldering all of the drainage as well as the right-of-way repairs through their millage and taxes. But those who are not paying, and it's 40% of the assessed value. We've all heard that. It's not 40% of the parcels, it's 40% of the assessed value of the properties in the city of New Orleans do not pay property taxes. And that's a significant number of beneficiaries who are not contributing. So that's why we have to have Raftellus look at this as a whole and be able to tell us the math behind how do we generate the impact that those who are nonprofits, not paying taxes, how do we generate the dollars and cents behind that in a way that is fair and equitable for everyone, including the nonprofits. We don't want to be unfair to them as well. But having it as a parcel fee gives flexibility to the city and to the utility to be able to use this collaboratively so that we can deliver full repairs within the right-of-way.
Moving to the governance piece of this, we wanted to provide just a bit of the overlook of how this would flow. And truly, this was based upon the success of the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund and the Fair Share deal. So in 2019, with the passage of the lost penny and sales tax, the city of New Orleans created the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund, which has largely been where those funds are collected and then remitted back to the Sewage and Water Board for a lot of their improvements. In a similar way, we want to, Councilmember, how are you doing? We want to provide that same transparency and accountability for how these funds are spent. If we're going to be asking the New Orleans City Council and we're going to be asking the residents of the city of New Orleans to vote on this parcel fee, we want to make sure that the usage of these funds is clear. And so what you'll see through some of these parts, right, is it's collected mirroring property tax, held into a separate fund that is then remitted, and after the approval of the New Orleans City Council, to Sewage and Water Board and the City of New Orleans on a specific set of projects. Now, speaking to that, we would like, or we propose, and this can certainly be worked through and developed further, some sort of joint capital improvement plan, right? That clearly demonstrates, these are the projects that we want to be spending this on, so that it's clear. This is what stormwater management looks like. This is what green infrastructure looks like. This is the kind of projects that we're going to be funding. And we want to put in both the capital improvement plan and the dedicated funds section of this slide out there. This is not intended for Sewage and Water Board to be coming to the council and saying, oh, please, we need this further money for this kind of project. A dedicated fund over a number of years for a particular project that is going to extend multiple years needs to be protected. There needs to be certainty that when you're going out and fixing a large diameter drain that takes possibly 2 to 3 years, that funding is still there, but providing updates on that project, providing reporting and clear accountability to the residents who voted on this measure, we find to be an essential part of the success of this proposal moving forward. And this part just explains some of that further with the funds, the requests, and then distribution. There are, of course, some examples. We provided some from outside municipalities who use this parcel fee as a bundle. This is just providing an example of where, you know, the term of art of a parcel fee clearly shows that there are different individual fees under that, and the term of parcel fee is something that is just kind of a catch-all term. You know, here including stormwater in both these examples, including streets through the ITE trip generator. And then Louisiana examples of a particular parcel fee that has been put into state statute, and you can see those examples there in revised statute. And then, of course, finally, the timeline. So here today on June 10th with the first discussion of this, then we are going on to the IAB meetings agenda tomorrow, which was at the recommendation of Sewage and Water Board's leadership. They said, you know, this should go to the IAB for their approval as well. And so we're looking forward to that meeting. Of course, next week's Sewage and Water Board full Board of Directors meeting. And then under that 8-week timeline, you know, receiving the results of the analysis about mid-August, which is critical because if we're going to put this on a ballot measure in early 2027, we've got to move fast. I mean, we are at the behest and urgency to get a fee that is right, get a fee that serves the residents of the city of New Orleans, one that provides these durable sources of funding so that we can move forward. Thank you all so much.
All right, directors, any questions based on the presentation we just heard?
In the case of the Lakeview and the Broadmoor parcel fees that you listed as examples, are exempt property owners paying those fees today?
It is a general fee that goes to each location, so yes, I believe so. But I could be wrong. I could stand corrected on that.
Okay. That would be a critical question, considering that we were just told that non-exempt properties are not going to pay anything more. So if you're only going to charge the fee to exempt properties, I think if you're using two examples of fees that already exist in the city, we should understand if they're similar.
Sure.
Because if exempt properties are not paying those fees, then they're not similar.
That's exactly what Raftellus would be looking at. That's why we need to get them.
Well, we can just look it up in the property records, though. We don't need Raftellus to do that.
Well, the model needs to be reviewed by Raftellus. That's why they're engaged in the first place as the experts. And it's not just Lakeview or Broadmoor. It's those other examples in Medford, Oregon, and across the country. We need the experts to tell us what to do.
Any other questions, directors? All right, I would like to acknowledge Councilman Director Hughes is with us now in the meeting, and we'll be moving on to the second presentation on the Executive Summary Report of April 26. Mr. Lewis, you may proceed.
Thanks to the committee for the opportunity to provide an update on the financials. We got the April here in front of us, working on the audit right now with our external auditors due end of June, so about the last couple weeks on that. So we're going to touch on a couple numbers from the draft audit. We do have the draft statements for the fiscal 2025 audit, so I'll touch on that in a minute. But just at a high level for April, we had $17.9 million of water sewer revenues below budget by about $5.3 million, attributed to both lower number of bills and volume consumption being lower, as well as additional customer credits in the month of April. We're driving that number. We collected about $7.9 million in drainage taxes, so we're up to $64.1 million year to date. So that's tracking along as per normal for the 3 millages. Other income, about $100,000. This is budgeted $1.4 million. This is for the supports the minor drainage system from the city's contribution for IMF fair share 25% and traffic camera revenue. So we're catching up with those revenues that get reported to us about 45 to 60 days after the end of the month, after collections. So that's coming along. Operating expenditures, we're showing here that 80.3 million across all the systems. We're still working with our consultants on the water sewer drainage breakout. So work in progress, but we're continuing to be lower than our conservatively budgeted operating expenses. And then on the next table, I want to just highlight on cash collections. We collected 21.1 million in May, so that was about 114,000 over historical average. And then April was a very good month, with about 3.2 million over historical average. So hopefully we'll continue with the good trends there. Because on the next slide, we look at over the last 12 months, our collected ratio is actually uncollected ratio about 14%. So that has grown relative to last year, emphasizing the need for, again, a continued consistent collection practices to make sure that we're getting the bill rate revenue. On this slide, we're just showing for the committee the number of bills issued, the non-red bills, about 1,932 for the month of April, about 1%. So continuing to see the expected benefits of the smart metering for the meter reading side. That's just graphically showing same information. The next graph is the billed water sewer volume. As I mentioned, for the month of April, the numbers were down. This for all of our billing cycles. So we're working on the sort of the consistency of getting all 20 cycles in same number of days every single month, so we can have more consistent monthly numbers. Next slide is our HDI update. This is the invoice dispute program the City Council set up for the month of April. There was 431 credit cases, about 737,000 of customer credit was placed on the accounts, 347 no credit cases, meaning no adjustment was deemed necessary. May, similar amount, 726,000. The right side is both the combination of HEI credits and credits that our team had put forth. It's about 1.5 million. And then here in May, I had the number now, about 1.8 million total credits, so a little bit higher trend recently on credits. Next slide is our customer receivables. It's fairly flat, about 53.2 million net of allowance at the end of April 30th. The past due category declined about 1%, 431,000. We have 16,458 customers on active installment plans. This slide is breaking out the payment plans by their size. Did want to highlight in that first category, which is consumer debt of about less than $500. So the smallest category, there's about 7,229 meters that are in arrears, 3,580 have a payment plan, so they're knocking out the debt. But if we look a year ago, there was 7,229 in that category. So I'm sorry, I said that backward. April 2025, 10,000. April 2026, 7,229. So that's 28% improvement. So that's indicating the Promise Pay plan is helping customers knock out their past due bills. And because again, you have to pay your current bills as well to keep up. Next slide is our disconnects and change in payment plans. These are orders and truck rolls. So there has been a disconnect order, about 2,100. So we're seeing an upward trend there, but that does appear to be influencing cash collections in a positive manner. On a dashboard, I just want to highlight two things. The cash on hand at the end of April was 155 for sewer, 232 for water. The draft numbers from the audit for the end of year 12/25, we're looking at for water 126, sewer 172, and then debt service coverage 4.28, 3.44. So both of these measures are in excess of what's required under the bond covenants, which is 90 days cash on hand, 1.25 times debt service coverage. The debt obligations, we have the same issues out, we're continuing to draw down, no major changes. Capital improvement, we did about 19.8 million of appropriations in the month of April. And next slide is about 3.4 million FEMA reimbursements in April, so that was a little bit higher. And then this table is on the, next table is on the minor drainage revenue. Pretty similar numbers. We did get the April number, 476,000 for the month of April for the IMF 25% share. Joint infrastructure, similar programs underway. We paid about 4.6 million in the month of April. Continue to work with the city team and the GOSEP to have routine checkpoints to make sure we're getting the reimbursements on the FEMA work so we can repay DPW. Next, I'll pass it over to Keith and Renell on the customer service call center updates.
Sorry.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
She's always listening. So for April, well, first of all, we finally got our numbers, working with IT and in NICE, we finally got our IVR numbers, so we shouldn't see any gaps going forward. So thank Kathy and her team for helping us with that. For April, we're still high, as you can see, 24,000 calls received, which is good, but that's a big number given the number of people we have in the call center to handle it. So we did fairly well, not hugely impressed, but we did fairly well given the number of calls came in, given the number of people we have to answer those calls. So calls answered were almost 19,000 calls. We did drop 5,300 calls, which brings us to almost 80% answered. We want to be at 90%, and that's what we're shooting for. Once our labor get up to speed, employees get trained, I think we'll be able to do that consistently. Our average wait time was about 5 minutes. We want to have that about 3 minutes. That's our goal. There's our IVR numbers. So we had 19,000 calls, went straight to the IVR. From a walk-in perspective, we had almost 3,500, which is consistent with our average, which is also good. Emails dropped down a little bit. March, we had a lot of external issues where customers were calling in and emailing, so that number reflects that 3,700. And so total customers, we serve almost 45,000, which is pretty good. So on our answer, as I spoke to, we want that to increase, so we want that line to increase. And we're working on getting that up, as well as our calls received. So we can't determine the number of calls come in or customers call in, but we can determine the number that we receive. So we want that line to consistently increase. As that line goes up, then we know we're serving our customers up to standards and as expected. Customers call in the average time here. Again, that's that average wait time. We don't want it to be in the 5. That line we want down. We don't want that line to consistently go up. So relative to the number of calls that come in, relative to the time it takes for us to answer that call, and we own the call with the customer, we want to be at 3 to 5. When there's problems in the city, caused by us or not caused by us, when people are calling in, that's a direct reflection on why that wait time tends to increase, among other things. And our emails to walk-ins, pretty flat. So I spoke on the walk-ins and I spoke on the emails. It was about 3,700, and then the walk-ins was, we went up maybe about 50 walk-ins, which is still good, and it's pretty much was flat. No big swings that would raise alarm. It's customer service experience.
Thanks, Keith. So, yeah, Chairman, so in summary, we're really focused on getting the audit wrapped up here in the next week, to working closely with the city on all the various items underway. So happy to answer any additional questions, but that's the update for April.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
So I'll start with Director James, and forgive me, I'm new here. So if we can go back to slide 14. Okay. Why so many drop calls? Walk me through, I mean, we have thousands of drop calls, so walk me through, number one, why do we have so many drop calls? And then number two, what happens when the call is dropped? Do we immediately call the customer back, or walk me through that process?
So good question. So I'll start with the latter. There are times we call the customer back if we are engaging a customer. We on a phone with a customer. We have that recorded. We'll call the customer back. And we can also see, working with Kathy's team, we could also pull a report and see how many times we've called the customer back. But that's contingent on us working with a customer. We talking to a customer. And for some reason, the phone dropped on either on our side or on their side. So that speaks to the latter. The former, it can be a various of reasons. So sometimes customers call drop because they'll call and they just have a phone issue in the call or drop. They want to go to IVR or they want to call another department. They'll pop up in our queue, right? They'll pop up in our queue and then they'll just disconnect. They phone disconnect or something just happens that we can't validate. And then sometimes because they're on the line too long, they are on our queue too long, so they're tired of waiting, and so they just disconnect.
These drop calls, does this capture live calls and like calls to the pay-by-phone system, or is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah, I reached out to this agency, you know, a couple months ago where, you know, many constituents in my district were trying to pay their bill by phone, and would get to the end of the process and the call would just disconnect, right? And the response I got from Sewage and Water Board, well, there's clearly a problem with the customer. I don't really buy that. So I think we have to do more due diligence. Those just seem like a lot of drop calls, and I don't really buy that. You know, everybody's just having cell phone issues. Are we tracking if we actually resolve the customer's issue that are calling with live calls? So like, okay, we have these numbers, right? So if Miss Mary calls with issue A,
Yes, sir.
you know, are we actually tracking that we've resolved Miss Mary's issue or we didn't resolve Miss Mary's issue? Are we tracking that at all?
No, not from a call center perspective. We track complaints, but those calls are resolved by the agent. So we can go back and listen to it, and we could see and listen to however many calls we want, and we could see which ones were resolved and which ones weren't.
Yeah, I'm interested in results across the city, right? So I think it would be a really beautiful thing if we can, you know, as we're trying to rebuild confidence in this great agency, if we can tell, you know, our consumers that we received X number of calls and this is our rate of resolving, right? We don't just want to take calls, we actually want to solve problems. So I appreciate your great work, Director, and look forward to building on that. Chief Lewis, if we can go to slide 9.
Thank you, sir.
If I can just speak on the tracking us resolving customers' calls. Currently, our system doesn't allow us to, we have customers that call in for different reasons. We don't have a current system that allows us to track reasoning and whether the call is resolved or not. Oh, I'm sorry. However, we do log in the customer contact log some of the results, whether if we have to create a service order, if there's an issue where the account needs to be investigated, whether we create a service order. If the customer calls back related to that service order, we do document that in the contact log. However, we don't have a system to actually track those measures as it relates to that. So just kind of summing up what Keith James just spoke on, our system doesn't allow that currently, but we are working on implementing a new system, and we'll try to look into tracking those issues.
Thank you. I think that would be a really good thing. Director, I have one last question. Can we go back to slide 14? I'm sorry. The number of emails, I'm sorry. Okay, emails received. Does that include the hundreds of email inquiries you receive from council offices, or is this just capturing direct emails from consumers? Because I know my office, we spend half a day on any given day emailing Sewage and Water Board about the many, many calls we receive. So does that include our emails, or is that
No,
just?
sir.
Okay.
It doesn't. It goes to our customer service office. So customers are allowed to email customer service directly.
Gotcha.
Yes,
So
sir.
that number is probably in reality a lot higher if you include the inquiries you receive with us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's again, one of the reasons why we kind of stress to the council team, the importance of the customer dialing 52 water or reporting, concerns to customer service email address. That way we have the ability to track those emails. So yes, that number is not included here, but that's why we always push the 52 water and the customer service email. That way we can document and track it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director. Thank you both. Chief, if we can go to slide 9. Why did, I guess, starting in December, we see a massive uptick in disconnects? So walk me through why, and they just seem to get higher and higher.
Yeah, as part of the smart meter strategy, you know, having customers eligible that are in arrears, they haven't voluntarily gone into a payment plan, we need to send them the service interruption notice to get them into a payment plan or get their bill paid. So it is intentional to ramp that number up. It is a last resort. We do have a process to ensure that, you know, all the boxes are checked, but that's the goal, is to get fewer people in arrears, and that service interruption drives that.
I had a question on this one as well, if you don't mind me jumping in. When we met last month about this, we had a discussion about what this actually means. And I think there was a request by the board to shift the way that this information is displayed. And I don't think that's happened this month. And I'm curious if maybe that we've run into a data issue in that, right, this means a letter was dispatched to a customer.
No, we
saying-
did, to clarify that question last was that this is a service order, so a truck roll, you know, a process going out to connect. So it's a full process, not just a notification letter. Those past due letters are in the thousands earlier in the process. But this is at the end when you're doing a turnoff with the truck roll.
Okay. Then I mean, I do think, you know, given that we are seeing this increase, I think that we need more information on why that's happening. Because I think understanding that it may have just been additional letters going out and folks were resolving it before the truck was actually going out, I think was some small comfort last month to this increase. And now understanding that this actually means that a truck is going and disconnecting the service. I also imagine some of them are going to be the ally meters, right, where they're able to remotely disconnect.
Yeah, we're not doing that process yet.
Oh, okay. But still, I think we need additional information on why this trend is occurring, because I think it is concerning to see why we're seeing such an increase in disconnects, but without a corresponding increase in new payment plans as well.
I think that tell me if I'm wrong. So we definitely know that when we were just tracking the letters, that wasn't giving us a clear enough picture. These are the people actually impacted, which is what we wanted, right? I think and tell me if I'm wrong, we want to see a correlation. We knew this would happen. This was by design, that as we shifted labor from readers to disconnects, this would inform the number of people who would then be prompted to pay, go into promise pay, right? Or, you know, we would capture that population that is, you know, the renters who are just walking away from bills, right? We'd catch them early. And so I want to make sure we're tracking, saying that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a next step, something that we haven't tracked before, not a repositioning of this.
Well, yeah, I guess that there was the question last month.
Yeah.
And so we've answered that question.
Yeah,
now.
that's
And so
what I'm
I
saying.
think the next step is to figure out how do we determine what this really means and how do we remedy it. I think to say we've got, and you know, I don't know from looking at this, did all of those 2,100 roughly customers who were disconnected last month, how many of them are still disconnected? How many of them did set up a payment plan or how many of them did pay in total. I just,
Yeah, no, we're saying the same thing. We want,
Yeah.
but this is the data that we asked for.
It is, yeah.
Different. We're now asking for something more.
for
and I
additional
agree.
information
Yes,
to,
yes,
so we
yes.
can better understand what this
Yes.
means.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the patterns. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, payment plans ebbing and flowing, but if you look at February, March, and April, disconnects are skyrocketing. Payment plans are going down drastically every month, so it just leads to a lot of questions, but I'll table those for now.
All right, so directors, if I may, it seems like the real question is what happens that next month? So if maybe we can know if the service was then reconnected to those addresses that was disconnected, because it may be like a service issue where someone, a renter or a homeowner had the service on, but are not staying in the property. So I think that's just kind of what directors, what I'm hearing, directors would like to see, the next,
Yeah.
if that service is connected the next month.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it, because there is often the turn-on exists, but the primary focus is on still people that are past due without a payment plan. So there are sort of more customers that if we do a turn-on, we've ramped up, but we haven't turned off everyone that's past due. So there's a process you have to go through.
If I may, I want to add, I agree we need to look at what happens next month. But also, too, I think this conversation is showing that we need to maybe communicate more to the public about the possibility of using Promise Pay and getting into a payment plan. I've seen that when I was in Philadelphia, it was a big issue. We had people weren't paying. We did make an outreach and then start to increase, because it's better that we have the payment plan and get some money than to get nothing and then have to inconvenience with the disconnect. So we'll look into what we can do with that.
Thank you.
That's great. All right. So I had one more thing. Thanks, Brunel. So since you're going to hear, I'm sure you recognize you're going to hear from Director Greenwich next week. So speaking for her, but all of our concern, I want to again commend you all, because I know that, we've seen some good numbers, but I'm always impressed that you all are never satisfied with good. And so in that vein, we uncovered that one of the biggest hurdles to go from good to great was a personnel shortage, right? And so we've been tracking kind of as a committee and as a board what that hiring and onboarding process was like. Could you provide us an update? I know you're gonna have to do this again next week, but
Yeah, I think so far we've had 3 of those employees.
So, thanks for the question again. So we hired 4 since our last talk, 2 for the call center and 2 for the lobby. Unfortunately, it happens. 2 have decided to move on. And it was our decision. And I think it was a good decision for the board and a good decision for our customers. So therefore, we down another 2 in addition to the 6 we was already down. So we starting it over. They're actually doing interviews now. So we just aggressively trying to bring in people who gonna not only benefit Susan Water Board, but also our customers. So we not selecting anybody, but we are trying to select the best candidates. And that's a tedious process.
but it sounds like that's a net +2.
It is yes, if you look at it that way, yes. Yep.
All right,
Right.
Mr.
And
James,
also-
I
go ahead.
have one question for you. So for your incoming calls, do you record during the business time frame, or do you record 24 hours?
24/7, yes, sir.
All right, so some of those unanswered calls could be calls that maybe come in after business hours as well, right?
Well, we always have somebody here 24/7. So we have after 5 o'clock, it goes to emergency. So it just goes under a different bucket, but we see them all, and all of them are captured in the numbers. So anytime somebody calls 24/7, they're gonna have somebody.
Okay.
And then additionally, as it relates to our billing numbers, we're bringing in more analysts. So at the time, we're interviewing for 2 additional analysts to assist with billing issues and analyzing and getting bills out in a timely manner. So we're trying to evaluate that situation and bring more employees in.
All right, directors, if there are no further questions, we'll now proceed with our one action item individually, followed by the 8 general superintendent recommendations. At this time, I ask Mr. Lewis to present on Resolution 0682026 regarding the authorization of amendment of number 4, professional services.
Yeah, so this resolution is for the Raftellus contract that we're speaking about, hearing from the city. The additional portion for the original contract was voted last month, but this is specific to parcel fee, additional fee, I'm sorry, a bundle fee, as Leah John was saying, that would have a right-of-way component. So 123,000 is what we agreed on the 8-week project with Raftellus.
All right, at this time, directors, any questions, or may I have a motion to approve resolution R 0682026?
I'll move. Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Any discussion?
Can I ask a procedural question? And I'm sorry, I'm new here. When we take up action items, do we allow public comment before we take up action items?
For the vote, yes.
Okay. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Public comment
Public comment?
on resolution 062026. We have a Ms. Kennedy Moore.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kennedy Moore. I'm representative of the Water Collaborative of Greater New Orleans. Thank you for calling for public comment on this action item. Some of you may know that the Water Collaborative has developed the framework for a stormwater fee over the past 5 years, also known as the Water Justice Fund. We've gone through the process of canvassing thousands of residents throughout this time. We've collected data by phone banking, door knocking, case studies, et cetera. And as a community-based organization, the Water Collaborative encourages local synergy across all water management systems, and we encourage collaboration by utilizing previous work conducted in partnership with constituents across Orleans Parish. We do appreciate the city's presentation on the proposed fee, which reflects the importance of developing a plan for a holistic approach to water management, and we look forward to potentially working with the city and sewage and water boards to foster progress towards future water infrastructure improvements in a manner that maintains transparency, affordability, equity, and public trust. Thank you.
There is another public comment with regards to this action item. This is from the Water Collaborative. It was submitted electronically, identified by Jessica Dandridge Smith. I will proceed to read it. I believe it starts with the authorization of amendment number 4 for professional services for feasibility analysis and development of a parcel fee between Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Ralph Tellers Financial Consultants, Inc. In December 2020, the previous Cantrell administration attempted to pass 3 property tax millages to help fund libraries, infrastructure, and millage dedicated to the French Quarter. They all failed, but even so, since 2018, 5 out of 7 millage ballots measures have failed. The voters of New Orleans have been clear for nearly 20 years. Whether it's a fee or a tax, the proposal must provide a plan for dedicated funds, must not overburden residents, and must improve their quality of life. Residents want transparency and accountability before more money comes out of their pockets. The Water Collaborative of Greater New Orleans recognizes the importance of identifying sustainable funding solutions to address New Orleans' longstanding drainage and infrastructure challenges, and thus we appreciate the board's effort to evaluate potential funding mechanisms and better understand all available options that both satisfy the need for fulfilling growth, infrastructure cost, and public health and safety. As this analysis moves forward, we encourage a transparent and inclusive process that prioritizes meaningful public engagement to build community trust, which is already fragile but is strengthening under new leadership. We believe, I think it's a typo, future recommendations should be grounded in clear legal authority under Louisiana law and should clearly distinguish between the various funding tools that may be available, including utility fees, special assessments, parcel-based fees, and other revenue mechanisms. These approaches carefully different legal, financial, and policy implications and should be evaluated accordingly, all of which requires time and attention as well as public input. We also appreciate and look forward to an increased level of transparency regarding what services would be funded, how costs would be allocated, how any proposed funding mechanism would interact with existing taxes, fee, bonds, proceeds, and other dedicated revenue sources already paid by New Orleans residents and property owners. In addition, equity should remain a central consideration. Any future proposal should carefully evaluate impacts on homeowners, renters, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and tax-exempt institutions while ensuring the costs and benefits are distributed fairly. Most importantly, residents deserve meaningful opportunities to understand the options being considered, review the supporting analysis, ask questions, and provide feedback before any funding recommendation advances. This is especially critical if a future proposal could require voter approval. Public engagement should occur early and often, giving residents sufficient time to understand potential impacts, and particularly in shaping any proposal before it reaches the ballot. The 5 of 7 tax propositions made since 2018 that failed all had the same characteristics. They lack transparency, accountability, and community partners. Taxes and fees do much better at the ballot box when they're lockstep within community voice and priorities. As a community-based organization, the Water Collaborative encourages local synergy across all water management systems. We encourage collaboration by drawing on prior work conducted in partnership with constituents across Orleans Parish, and we hope to foster progress toward future water infrastructure improvements in a similar manner. We look forward to reviewing the results of this work and continuing the conversation about how to sustainably fund the infrastructure investments of our city needs while maintaining transparency, affordability, equity, and public trust. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, Councilors, that concludes
That's
public comment?
As to this particular resolution and action item, yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and properly a second. All in favor of resolution R0626?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? The motion carries. All right, we will now proceed to our General Superintendent's recommendations.
Excuse me, good morning, committee members. All right, this morning we have 2 contract renewals, 2 contract amendments, 1 contract change order by ratification, and 3 final acceptances. We will take the first 2 together, the contract renewals. First, we have authorization and of extension and renewal number 1 for contract CM 25005 for drainage cleaning and inspection services between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Compliance Environmental Services, LLC. So this contract was initially entered into last year for the purposes of our supporting the minor drainage system cleaning efforts. This was put on pause at the end of last year from November of 2025 through March of 2026, while additional funds were anticipated to be received through the city and other sources. Those funds have since come in, and so we are seeking to execute both the first renewal and extend the original contract, as not all contract capacity on the contract was expended at the time. So there was about, $2,264,000 remaining to be spent on the original contract amount, so we're seeking authorization to continue to spend that and execute the first renewal, which would extend the contract from October 3rd, 2026 through October 2nd, 2027. This had a DB participation of bid of 37%, and the contractor is presently meeting or exceeding that at 44.78%. And secondly, we have R071 2026. This is contract 8171, renewal number 2, which is repaving of open cuts in streets, driveways, and sidewalks resulting from underground utility repairs between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Fleming Construction LLC. This is renewal number 2, which would extend the contract to June 4th, 2027, and is the renewal amount of $2,277,750. This has a DB participation goal of 37%, and they are exceeding that at nearly 75%.
All right, may I have a motion to approve contract awards R0582026 and R0712026?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Any discussion on the motion? There's no discussion. Council, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Abstain.
One abstention. The motion carries.
All right, we have, 2 contract amendments. The first is R048, 2026, Amendment Number 8 to the agreement between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Jacobs Engineering Group for professional services and engineering services for the power frequency converter at Carrollton Water Plant. This is Amendment 8 to the contract in the amount of $888,340. This is for extended contractor oversight and management of around $150 million total in construction projects that this consultant has been supporting us with. This is for final closeout of the project and extension through 2026. This project initially had a DB participation percentage of 35%. They have been unable to meet that due to extensions of the project that did not include scope that amended itself to resident inspection, which was the initial intent of the DB participation, including additional commissioning services that were anticipated and provided, so very highly technical services that were provided by groups in that organization or by individuals. And second, we have Amendment Number 7 to the agreement between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and JEI Solutions for skilled and unskilled labor for maintenance. This is R059, 2026. This is a continuation of the existing contract through JEI Services on a month-to-month basis through December 31st, 2026, or earlier if at such time that a new contract for skilled and unskilled labor is in place. This would be an amendment for month-to-month through December 31st, not to exceed $3,125,000. Their bid DBE was 30% and are meeting or are lower than that at 22% due to declining manpower resources on their side, although I know that that organization is in close contact with our DBE office as well. All right, those are the two.
May I have a motion to approve contract amendments R0482026 and R0592026?
So moved.
All right,
We have a public comment.
okay. All right, it's been moved in second. Is there any discussion to the motion? If not, council, public comment.
We have a public comment from Chris Ralston.
Thank you. Good morning. I'll be brief. Chris Ralston on behalf of JEI Solutions. I'm appearing really just for some brief information. I know that several of the board members are here. I appeared at the May 20th board meeting. I won't reiterate my comments there. I just know there were some comments made and questions at that hearing. Wanted to make myself available. And because of a couple of the comments that were made, just wanted to at least appear and say on the record. There were some comments made that there was litigation that JEI Solutions lost at the district court and at the Court of Appeal. That case remains pending. I'll let this board make their own decisions, obviously, about things. But what we had asked was that the court just stay while the protest process played out, in part because once we lose employees, we don't get those employees back, was the main concern. Obviously, the district court, and the district court was right, we didn't have much information because the Sewage and Water Board had not responded to the public records request. We only got that information after the hearing at the district court and after we had gone to the Fourth Circuit, which showed, in fact, I think quite clearly that there were two standards applied. There was missing information from the out-of-state contracts, out-of-state contractors' applications, material information, and that JEI, the local contractor who's been doing the contract without issue, complaint, or problem for 5.5 years, provided, and the only thing they were missing was some contact information on the contact form, which obviously was contained within the same packet, and I think was at best nominal, not material information. Yet their contract wasn't even considered. The others were considered, and one was recommended. Again, we'll let that play, but I think that's fair, at least to be considered while everyone's performing their responsibility to the board and the organization. And then lastly, there was a comment made about liability to other entities, and I remind everyone that the Sewage and Water Board's own materials and application packet states, importantly, there is no contract and no contract expectation until one is awarded by the board. So a recommendation by the Finance Committee is not a contract, as stated in this organization's own materials. You can mobilize if you want ahead of time. You can go prematurely incur expenses, but that's your decision to do so. Until there's a contract awarded by the board, the governing board of this organization, that's really your decision. That's certainly not something that is the responsibility of this organization until and unless a contract is awarded by the board. So I just wanted to clarify that because there was a comment made that surprised me that was, I think, in conflict with the Sewage and Water Board's own papers and subheadings. So
And thank you. That concludes your time.
thank you very much.
And just for clarification, the proposed resolution 59-2026 has to do with an amendment to the contract to extend the JEI contract from month to month so there can be a continuation of services to the GSO's office. It is not pertinent to the litigation.
All right, all in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
All right, we have one contract change order by ratification. This is R060-2026. This is ratification of change order number 5 for contract 30230, Carrollton Basin number 2, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services LLC. This is the last and final change order for this contract, which was related to the ongoing sanitary sewer program. This is a contract change order amount in the negative amount, the deductive amount of $526,623.06, and with a substantial completion date of May 11th, 2026. This DBE participation was 36% at bid, and they exceeded that at 55%.
May I have a motion to approve the contract change order for ratification R060-2026?
So moved. Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? Public comment, Council?
No public comment, Chair.
All in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposition?
Abstain.
One abstention. The motion carries.
All right, and we have 3 final acceptances. R008-2026, authorization of final acceptance for contract 1452, structural and filter rehabilitation in the Sycamore Filter Gallery, Phase 4, between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Industrial Mechanical Contractors, LLC. The final dollar amount performed by this contract was $2,974,650, and it was ultimately extended by 136 calendar days, and this work is now complete, and we are recommending final acceptance.
May I have approval to a motion?
I have 2, we have 3 total.
Oh, 3
Yeah,
total.
sorry. R061-2026 is authorization of final acceptance for contract 30230, Carrollton Basin number 2, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services. The final dollar amount of work performed was $8,174,546.91, which and a extended contract duration of 412 days. This was the previous change order that was just ratified. And finally, we have authorization of final acceptance for contract 30258, Carrollton Sewer Basin number 17, rehabilitation between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Wallace C. Drennan. The final dollar amount of work performed was $7,421,381.09, with a extended contract duration of 286 days in total. All right, that completes the final acceptances.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
May I have a motion to approve final acceptances resolution R0082026, R0612026, R0702026?
So moved.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Council, any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
All right, all in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposition?
Abstain.
One abstention, the motion carries. Now we're ready for executive session. I'll ask that the room be secured at this time.
Well, you asked for a motion to go into executive session.
Can we have a motion to enter executive session? Any questions? All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. We're now in executive session. time, may we have a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstention? The motion carries. We're now back to our regular session. At this time, there are 4 information items for the committee members to review at their convenience. But prior to doing the start of that, I would like to recognize the presence of Director Thomas and also Dr. Greenidge, who has joined us today. All right, the 4 items for information. You have public comment?
No,
Okay, any public comment?
no public comment, Chair.
All right, if there are no other matters, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? The motion carries. We're now adjourned.